Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have your Bitcoin slash altcoin slash cryptocurrency update for Monday, June the 1st. So obviously yesterday we had a daily close, obvious, a weekly close, and a monthly close. So we have quite a bit to talk about today, so I'm going to jump right into that. But before I do, please do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up button on this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you check the description for a link where you can join the Patron for just $7 a month. That'll give you access to more frequent updates. So, a whole lot going on in the world right now, a whole lot going on in the United States, and I'm going to stay away from that because I'm just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, and my opinion does not matter. I don't see that as having a huge impact on the markets. Has a huge impact on the human side of me, but from the markets, I just haven't really seen that as being something that I'm super concerned about. Again, in terms of the markets, I've actually been watching it and been super absorbed into it all week because it concerns me a great deal, for the United States, for my country, for the people in this country, both minorities and non-minorities. It's bad for everybody. But from the markets, I haven't really seen any type of reaction to it. And so I don't think we have to factor that into the trading side of things. Okay. So let's take a look at some charts. The first chart I'm going to take a look at is this stock chart. We're going to make this super brief because I'll be very frank with you. I have no freaking idea what this market is doing. None. Right? None. It looked like it was going to turn over. It looked like it was going to go down. Came in, threw in this bear trap right here, and then pumped up off of that. And I think it was my last video. It could have been 2 videos ago that I said that oftentimes when you get a bear trap, the price just continues moving away from it. It's just squeezing those bears harder and harder and harder until they finally capitulate. And that's often when it decides to move back down. So I don't know if it's squeezed them hard enough yet or not. I do know that if we look at some just very basic technical analysis and we go back and say, hey, this was our line of support back here, it does look like that's tested it, but I just really don't know. I don't know if this is going to try to pump up and punch that 200-day moving average. I just very, very unsure, right? I'm still bearish. I still think that this is all one big dead cat bounce. I still think that we're probably in for some really rough times in the next year or so. But like I mentioned a few weeks ago, stock market is not crypto. Stock market does not move fast. It is a slow grinding process. And I believe that the Fed and the government is going to try to do everything they can to prop this thing up, especially with an election coming up in just a few months. So, it could be months before we see what's really going to happen. And some people say, well, aren't you worried that you're going to miss out on gains? I am not. I am not worried. I look at this as a win-win. The first win being I'm right, it goes down, I'm able to make a bunch of money. The second win being I'm wrong, it goes up, life is better, people don't lose their homes, people don't go hungry, and I make a little less money. In both cases, I don't lose any money, right? Capital preservation, it's number 1 on my list. I'm much less concerned about making money than I am not losing it, okay? And what I mean by that is if this continues to go up and proves itself to be a legitimate bull rally, cool. I'll just catch the trend a little later. I'll miss some of these gains, but I'll catch it, and it's fine, right? Whereas if I try to jump in here and it's not a bull trend, then I'm going to lose a lot of money. And there are analysts, and I did have a bunch of articles pulled up a few days ago. I was going to shoot a video, and just with everything going on, it was just, I just didn't really feel like sitting down to shoot a video, I'll be honest with you. But basically there are, obviously 2 camps. There's always the bear camp, there's always the bull camp, and some of the bears and some of the, big bears were saying that we could be in for 10 years of hard times. And I am almost 40, so I do not want to put money in and be stuck for 10 years not getting returns on that money. That's why I'm being so cautious, right? I don't need the passive gains. I don't have to rely on the market to pay me. I am perfectly fine trading and making a living taking what I want from the market versus hoping for a handout from the market. Okay? So that's kind of what I think about the stocks. I really feel like, it is bearish, but I just don't know how long it's going to take to play out. So if we jump over to Bitcoin, I shot a video on Patreon a couple days ago, probably 3 or 4 days ago now. And what I had said, in fact, I think it was last week. I think it was right when the week closed. I said I thought that it was likely that we'd probably end up with some type of head and shoulders with this bounce back into the green line and then probably went down. Okay, still waiting to see if that's going to happen. We got the first part of it. We did bounce up to that green line. Okay, and the green line's not super important to me. It was more just the pattern, the head and shoulders type of pattern that I was watching for. If we look at the price itself, this is obviously a line chart. Really, really, ugly structure. It's not really a head and shoulders on price. Some people would say this is a left shoulder, this is a head, and this is a right shoulder forming. I mean, I could give them the benefit of the doubt, but I think if this is going to turn down, I think it's really going to be more of a double top, right? Something like that or something like this. I think that's kind of what we'll see. We do have to be very aware that the volume was not good. This last week's volume that just closed, it was not good. If you look at the volume on that, now we're starting to seep back into these volumes back here in February, these volumes back here in early 2019, these volumes all through the latter part of 2019. This is nowhere near the buying interest of these volumes back here. Okay, just nowhere near it. So that should concern you if you're bullish. I'm going to take the volume off now, and what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put a 200-week moving average in there. You can see that sitting down around 59.51, so it's really not in the picture right now. I'm not worried about it at all. And what I mean by that is, until we get close to it, I don't care. That means nothing. The 19-week moving average, this is the one that I harped on for close to a year, saying my friend David Eisner showed me this, and he basically was a really big believer in it. And when you're below it, you're bearish. When you're above it, it's bullish. And you can see here that, just like before, when it got above it, it wanted to keep moving up, just like back here, just like back here. So, I do want to keep an eye on this. This is up around $8,200 right now. So if we suddenly fall back underneath it, then that would be very bearish, but we're pretty far off of it. Okay, so if we start to move back down, I'd watch it for support. If I take a look at just price as itself, right? If we start drawing some trend lines and things like that, we can draw a resistance line from the wicks, and it looks like this. Obviously, price is well above it. Of course, you could redraw it like this. That's kind of cheating, but I guess you could. But this was the line that I was kind of watching, so that is above that line. If we go back to 2017, then this is our line. Okay, so this one is worth watching as well. I don't love the price action right now. Okay, I really don't. It looks like distribution to me. When I look at RSI, the fact that it's kind of playing around, trying to put in this weird head and shoulders pattern. It's, underneath this green line. It just looks a little bit wobbly. Okay, if I put momentum on there, momentum does tell a little bit different of a story, because if we look at momentum, we had this resistance, right? Boom, boom, boom. And it did break above that. So it is entirely possible that this rally is legit. And it could be just that I'm still bear biased, which is why I refuse to believe in it. Okay? But, like I've said in past videos, even if the rally itself is legit, it's due for some type of correction. You normally don't just keep going straight up, right? We haven't pulled back and tested this 38.2. We haven't pulled back and tested the golden pocket. And on a parabolic climb, you typically pull back about 80%, which would be down around $5,000. All right, that's the bullish case. If we take a look at a daily chart, Okay. Let's kind of zoom in on some of this stuff here. So this was our trend line that started back on March 13th. And this trend line ran and ran and ran. We started running into trouble back here where it was putting in lower highs. It collapsed through it. And this looks like a bearish retest to me. Okay. Looks like a bearish retest. But we'll have to wait and see. We are still below that trend line. Okay. So that is very bearish in nature. We still have this liquidity gap sitting down around $1,700 or so. That's bearish in nature. We still have this liquidity gap sitting down around $5,500. Again, bearish in nature. Okay, if we start drawing the trend lines on RSI, we had this bearish retest. It's played out. Then I can draw it like this. This becomes my new low. It didn't quite get to it, but it did put in this ugly looking double top right here. See it? Up, down, looks like the letter M in the alphabet. So I want to keep an eye on that. I can also draw this like this though, and then it becomes support. So I want to watch that trend line. If I draw it from the top back here, it's going to look something like this. And I want to watch that trend line. So I have a resistance and I have a support. And if I break through resistance and get a close above it, it's going to make me lean more bearish in the shorter term. Bullish. And if I break through support and continue down and close below it, it's going to make me lean bearish on the short term. All right, so that's the daily chart. Now what I want to do is I want to open a new chart. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at the monthly chart. Okay, if we look at the month that just closed, really nice volume, right? Good buying volume. Not as high as the sell volume, but still really nice buying volume. We definitely did put in a higher high. Okay, this here closed at 93.34. This closed at 94.46. So this is a higher high. Well, not right there, but right there is a higher high than back here. Okay, so we had this bearish structure, lower low. Now suddenly we have a higher high. So if this is turning the corner again, even in a bull market, I would expect that we're going to get some type of pullback and then something like this, which would basically be, if you're not seeing it, some type of inverse head and shoulders. Okay. So the monthly didn't look bad. The close didn't look bad at all. It's not super strong, but it's definitely nice to take out this old high if you're a bull. If we take a look at alt market cap, so this is the market cap not including Bitcoin, we had our lower high, we had our lower high, we had our lower high, but this monthly close, same deal, it put in a higher high. Okay, now that's a fairly big deal because that has not really happened, okay, since the bear market ended, or the bear market started. We had this little green candle here, so maybe somebody would say, well, this was higher than this, but it doesn't really look like a high. It looks more like just a spinning top type of candle. This is the first, what I would call the first legitimate, higher high where you got two green candles in a row. It wasn't like a little, okay, relief and then more downside. Like right here, you had downside, little relief, more downside, right? Relief, downside. This is like, hey, look, here's one candle, here's two candles. This could be, turning the corner here. And that'd be nice for alts. Be nice for me too, because my portfolio is alt heavy right now. Okay. But I'm in a very much wait and see type of mode, right? Very, very wait and see for me. I'm still not really that interested in buying more coins, and I probably won't be interested in buying more coins until I'm just completely convinced that the bear market is over. That being said, if you're watching the channel and you're saying, well, he's not going to buy, so I'm not going to buy, please do remember that I'm in a very different situation from most people. I'm making most of my money trading and not holding. So if I don't buy a coin to hold, it doesn't matter to me because I'm still making money trading, right? That's part of the reason that I'm not all that concerned about trying to chase this thing down. Unless I'm just totally convinced that it's safe to put my money in, I probably won't, right? I'll probably just continue to trade. I took a little bit of profits on the HODL coins that I had on this run up, and I have orders to buy them back cheaper. They're limit orders, so if they fill, great, it's wonderful. If they don't fill, I'm not that worried about it. I'm really not. Okay. So total alt market cap, it looks decent, right? It's I really don't see any reason to be super bearish. I think I did a video about a week ago saying, look, there's no reason to be bullish yet. Lower high, lower high, lower high. But we do have that higher high now. The month closed higher. That is a higher high. It's definitely higher. So that's the beginning signs of bullish structure. And if we look at the weekly chart, we haven't taken out this high back here, but it is interesting because this is up, down, higher high, higher low, higher high. It is bullish structure, right? It's putting in bullish structure on the weekly chart. It just hasn't taken this out yet. So, I'm not going to get super bearish on these alts. I'm not looking for shorts on these alts or anything of that sort. I'm really just waiting and being very, very patient, right? This is a daily chart for the total alt. I cannot talk tonight. This is a daily chart for the total alt market cap. It looks a little rough, right? When I start drawing this trend line, that's a little sketchy. You had the first point, the second point, you had a little bit of a break above it here, but it is definitely below that point. So I do want to keep an eye on that if I'm, trying to bet on alts, so to speak. And this right here is what I would call our support. Maybe this, but I like this line better. You can see it had began here, had its first touch and its second touch. This looks more like an outlier to me. So I think it's kind of like coming to this apex of this, wannabe triangle. And it's just going to be a matter of, does this break north and, make the bulls happy, or does it break south and suddenly it's the bears that get to celebrate? And only time will tell that. Okay. If we take a look at total market cap, this is the total market cap including Bitcoin. I haven't taken a look at this in a while, so let's look at this. This RSI doesn't really give me any signs. We got support down here. We really don't have a clean line of resistance. Maybe something like this. These are hypothetical lines. They just have two touches, so a little tough to say, right? I don't see much there. Let's look at a weekly chart. This is, of course, going back to 2017. And pull this thing down. That one doesn't look great, right? It's got started back here, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch, depending on if you count this. The rule of thumb is the more times the line is tested, the weaker it gets. So if this can make its way back up to that line, I would expect it to break. All right. Now, if it can't make it up to the line, all bets are off. But if it makes it back to this line, I would expect it to break north of it. Draw a line down here, and it looks like our resistance, our support. I think I'm just tired, guys. I'm mentally drained from all the crap going on. So I apologize. I keep stumbling over my words this morning. But this is the line of support that I would be watching. This is the line of resistance that I would be watching. I know they're far apart. It's no fun to wait, but that's kind of the name of the game, okay? If I draw some lines on the chart itself, that resistance is busted. That resistance is busted. And if I draw it from 2019, if I can get it to connect, looks like we're sitting right at resistance from the top in 2019. So definitely worth keeping an eye on that chart as well. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. Put this thing on a weekly. So we had the W, right? We talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago. We had the W, it was beautiful. And it's very normal for this to come back down and test the neckline. But this is kind of pushing it. This is going awful far down there, right? Look at that. I would have expected it, if it was going to be bullish, I would expect to stop somewhere around here, bounce off of it, and then continue up. So could be some hope there for the altcoins to gain some ground on Bitcoin, okay? If we draw some trend lines, get something that looks something like that. And, maybe this is a ascending triangle that looks like that. Maybe it's more of a channel. It looks like that. Okay, it could totally be a channel. Both of those are bullish in nature for Bitcoin compared to the alts, right? Whether it's an upward sloping channel or whether it's a ascending triangle, they're both bullish in nature. So if you want to see the alts have some type of alt season, or you want to see the alts gain ground on Bitcoin, what you really want to see is this line to give out. This bottom trend line, this line that goes all the way back to January 2018. That's what you really want to see. If we draw some RSI trend lines, We got a support that looks something like that. And there's really not a great resistance to draw here. I don't even know that I would trust that resistance, but maybe it looks something like that. You know, worth keeping an eye on at least. What do we got if we start connecting some of these lines? Yeah, this one's a little bit interesting because you have, you know, starting back here, getting a touch here, and then you're getting a touch over here. And let me make the line a little bit cleaner. Okay, so now it's perfect touch back here, perfect touch, and perfect touch. And that looks like a bearish retest, which again would be a good sign for alts, right? Not for Bitcoin, but it would be a sign that Bitcoin could potentially be losing some dominance to the alts very soon. All right. Keep in mind that can happen a couple different ways. That can happen because they both go up and Bitcoin goes up slower. That can happen because Bitcoin stays stable and alts go up, or it can happen because Bitcoin drops but alts don't drop as much. So let's hop over to the CME real quick. So if we look at a daily chart, the only gap that I'm really paying any attention to at the moment on the daily is going to be up here between 11,695 and 11,795. It's pretty far away, so not super concerned about it right now, but it's in the back of my mind. And the only other gap that I'm really aware of at the moment, it's not a daily gap, it's a 4-hour gap. It's this one way back here, and it's down between 35.70 and 35.95. And I'm even less concerned about that one than I am this one, right? If I was gonna, you know, look for either of these to fill anytime soon, it would be this yellow one. It would not be this one. This one's so far down there, and it's a 4-hour gap, and it's really small. It's a $25 gap, okay? So, but I'm mindful that they're there. If we put a 200 moving average on a daily chart on the CME, this is definitely worth paying attention to. Okay, we came up, we had a really, really picture perfect textbook bullish retest. Okay, so once this tested that 200 moving average, somebody could have potentially went long on the close on May 11th, or they might have waited, went long on the close of May 12th. Could have got a really, really nice gain out of that, depending on where they went long at, you know, maybe a potential 13-14%. But it hasn't really continued that. It's came right back down, and it seems to be consolidating on top of it, which is not really what you want to see, right? You don't want to play around on top of support. You want to get away from it as quickly as possible. Same thing with resistance. If you start seeing price coil up underneath resistance, it's often going to bust through it. And if you see price coil up on top of support, it's often going to come down through it. So this is, you know, in my opinion, bearish in nature. Now, other analysts may say, no, you're crazy. It's going to end up putting in an ascending triangle or some type of pennant. And maybe it does. I don't think so, right? But maybe, right? It wouldn't be like some crazy idea if you see somebody drawing this and saying, hey, there's a pennant forming. It's not crazy. I don't think it's what it is, but it's not an invalid idea. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the CME. Just a lot of exhausted bulls, essentially. If we look at the volume on the CME, just very, very low volume. Look at this. This was the volume on May 27th compared to, you know, look at the volume back through here. And then all of a sudden, this tiny little green candle. And then this next day, we had this great big pump. Look at the volume bar. It's not even there. See it? So this day, the volume was 2.5K. This day, showing volume 0. That's got to be an error. That's got to be something weird with trading. I don't know how it could have went up with no volume. I'm going to call bullshit on that one. But the volume is starting to drop off, right? You're not seeing a whole lot of bulls stepping up and putting in that buy pressure. See how this volume back here is all huge. They were excited. Then COVID-19 killed their excitement. And look through here. There's just really not that much buying interest on the CME. So, you know, I've hypothesized in the past that CME has been the one driving this bus since they got involved, which is why it's acted so different this time compared to past market cycles. And if that is indeed the case, this is very troubling to see such low volume compared to back here and compared to back here in this breakout in 2019. Okay? So overall, I think that's where I'll wrap up, guys. Like I said, I apologize. The video is not quite as crisp as some of my other videos. I really am tired. Just mentally wore out from all the drama and all the hatred that's being spewed in today's world. And I try not to get too involved in it, and I really do. But it's just like you see people suffering, and it's just like you want to do something and you don't know what to do, and then it just eats at you. And I don't talk a lot of politics because my politics make everybody mad. I'm neither a conservative or liberal. I'm an independent. So I just tend to piss off both sides when I talk about it. But I just don't want to see anybody suffer. And I get sucked into that stuff, and it's just like, it's heart-wrenching watching everything that goes on. It's heart-wrenching watching, men and women who go to work every day trying to protect and serve getting called pigs and labeled and attacked. And it's heartbreaking to watch people who are just simply trying to live their lives, being killed by police. And I understand that this particular person was being arrested for, I guess, passing some type of counterfeit bill. But, I mean, come on, that doesn't warrant a death sentence. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. I've had friends, when I was 15, 20 years ago, I got into some trouble when I was in my late teens, and I ran around with some people that made some bad decisions, and they ended up serving time in prison, and I just could imagine one of them being killed because they try to pass a $20 fake bill. So it really has just completely taken me out of my game this last week. And on top of that, I was actually working on this other project that I'm really excited about. We're doing a case study, which is closed now, so this is no way a pitch or anything. But we're doing a case study with some people. We've got some new strategies that we've been having some really good success with. I say we because there's another trader I'm doing it with. And if that continues to show the results that we're currently getting, eventually we'll probably put together some type of course on it. So that's been exciting, and that took up some energy. And then, this stuff going on in the world, and it's just like, man, not to be cliche, but can't we just all get along, right? So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and wrap up there. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I just want to say I really appreciate you. I appreciate all of you that watch the channel. I appreciate those of you that comment. I know once in a while I get private messages, from people saying that, something I said or something I did helped them in some way, and it's very humbling, and I just truly appreciate it. So, with all that being said, please remember I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, and nothing in this video is financial advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor, which I'm not, before making any type of investment in stocks or cryptocurrency. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.